Hi everyone, in this video we're going to start our new project. What we're going to be doing is looking at some character lip sync animation. So basically what we're going to be doing is getting a character to talk. I've got a little sample video here. I've kept the audio off it because YouTube might flag it as copyright infringing. But you can see the facial movement just here. I've included this file in your supplied files, so you can actually watch it with the audio on your own computer, just so you can see how the movement goes. This was pretty quick to do, so it's not perfect at all. I didn't really get much of a chance to kind of polish it, but you'll sort of get the gist from that. I'll just play it through again. So the character rig that we've got will allow us to create different mouth shapes. We can also move the eyes, the eyebrows, and so on. And we can also make the head move a little bit as well. The rig itself's pretty basic and it's pretty limited, but it's enough to keep or to give you an idea of what to expect. Primarily it's using a system called Blend Shapes, which is actually pretty rudimentary. Blend Shapes was a system, or Morph Targets is a system that's sort of been used for a very long time, and it's a little bit old-fashioned now, but for basic lip syncing it still works quite well. You can create more complicated facial rigs using full joint skeleton systems and so on, but that's at a lot more advanced stage, so we're just going to kind of look at the basics for now. So let's have a quick look at the files. I'm going to be giving you guys a project folder just here, so it'll be called LipSync, and inside that folder, this is actually a project folder, there'll be a brief folder with your project brief in there. There'll also be in the scenes file folder, you'll be getting these two files just here, a head base and also the head rig. The head base actually is referenced into this file, so this file basically just contains the model, and this file here contains the full control rig as well. So you're going to start off by accessing this file. You won't need to access this, but this has to be in the folder for this one to work. So don't touch the head base 2016 file at all. You will also find in the images folder this the video, the full video demo that I've just shown you guys with the character talking. That has the audio in, so check that one out maybe before you start. It'll give you a bit of an idea of what to expect. The audio clip itself is actually a piece of dialogue from the TV series Firefly, so some of you might recognize that audio. Other than that, there's really not much else. There's a little reference folder with sort of a chart with the actual different facial expressions for that character. Once again, this is a little bit out of date, so don't worry too much about that. You'll kind of see the different expressions available as we go along. Now, I've deliberately left this rig pretty basic, and part of the challenge for this is going to be to create sort of a stylized, cartoony lip sync with an absolutely limited number of different facial shapes that you can use. So you may find that there are some viseme shapes or phonetic shapes that the mouth would create when a character is talking that aren't actually available in the rig. You'll need to blend multiple shapes together to get the shape that you need. Okay, so keep in mind it is stylized. We're not going for photorealistic kind of mouth movement or anything. So it's not too, it doesn't matter too much if it's a bit kind of choppy. Okay, so I just very briefly want to talk about audio clips. This can be a bit tricky. Maya has a really rudimentary audio support tool set within the software. It's very finicky as to what files it will actually import, and sometimes you'll find that even if the file format of your audio clip is the right type, it still won't import the audio properly. And that can sometimes be dependent on the export settings that we use to save the audio file originally. Okay, I've got a bit of an example of that just here with a little audio clip I've recorded a couple of minutes ago. And this is just to give you a bit of an idea. So I've got this audio clip which basically it's just me saying hello there. You might be able to hear it through the microphone. I'll just play it now. That's pretty low. Let me just crank my audio up a little bit.
Hi there.
Okay, so you could probably hear that maybe. So when I originally saved this out, it was saving at a default setting of 32-bit. It was coming out at a bit depth of 32-bit floating point, and Maya would not accept it. Sometimes it would import but then wouldn't show up in the actual timeline, and other times it would just give me error messages. So I've resaved this out as a 16-bit file. Okay, you can see here the sample rate's running at 44,100 hertz. The duration is going to vary depending on how long your audio clip is, but the bit depth is 16-bit. Now this one I have tested and it did work. So sometimes you've got to be a bit careful with the actual the bit rates and so on. If you find that your file doesn't open in Maya, it won't import properly, or it doesn't show up, or it's treating it as though it's not existent in Maya after you've imported it, you can drop it into a Adobe Audition and try saving it out as a different format. So when we do, for example, if I go export file, the dialog that pops up looks like this. So Maya should accept a WAV file, a wave. It should also technically accept an AIFF just here, but I am having a lot more trouble trying to get those to work properly. Now, possibly on a Macintosh, it might accept an MP3, although I've never really had much luck with that. So I'd try where possible to stick to maybe a WAV file. That's probably going to be your best bet. Definitely experiment with the other two formats, MP3 and AIFF as well if you want. Okay, you might find a version that works well for you. So the format settings in here, in order to get it to open up in Maya, what I've done is change the format setting here, and I've dropped it down to a 16-bit integer just here. Okay, originally it was a 64-bit, was it 32? I think it was a 32-bit floating point, this one here. And it just wouldn't load, so I had to change it to this. It's now also, now that I've reopened it in Audition, it's also now coming up with this format as well, but that's basically what it's already saved as. The sample type you can see there, 44,100 hertz. It's a mono. I didn't need stereo for this. In Maya, it's not really going to break up into stereo channels or 5.1 or anything, so a mono file is perfectly fine. And you can see that it's 16-bit. So that's sort of how I kind of changed the settings on this file that I created initially. So you can feel free to actually record your own audio in the audio booth and then lip sync that dialogue. Otherwise, you can just grab a clip from a movie or a TV show and use that as a sound bite. All right, let's jump over into Maya and let's get this ball rolling. What I want to do sort of in the next minute or so is just show you the basic import and preparation of the file. So I'm going to start off by setting my project folder so the software knows where to look for all the files. And this is really important for this project. If you don't do this for this project every time you turn your computer on or before you work, half your files will vanish. So you have to do this every time you turn your computer on or start Maya up to start working. So we'll go File, Set Project, and I'm going to select my LipSync folder just here, and I'll press Set. So the software is now looking at that folder, right? So it's basically looking inside here, and it's going to find, you know, our sound from our sound folder. So I've copied my sound file into here. You can see that there. It's going to also be able to find this file so that when I open this up, this one will load into it. All right. So let's open that file now. I'm going to go File, Open Scene, and I'm going to select the headrig2016 file just here. We'll hit Open. You don't need to save, and there we go. So this is the file that you guys should see, and I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown in the next video. I want to keep this pretty short. Okay. But the first thing I'm going to do is save this file again under a new name. I do not want to animate inside this file, headrig2016. If I mess things up, I need to be able to come back to this file to start again. So do not animate directly in this file. What you'll need to do as soon as it's opened is go File, Save Scene As, and you'll see it goes into the Scenes folder. And what we're going to do is change this name down here to head, or you can change it even to LipSync anim, and then give it a version number 001. Now, if you like, you could also put your name or your initials in there. So, you know, for me, I might just go Simon, something like that. All right. And then we'll hit Save As and continue. Now it's going to do this continue thing twice. Okay, it's going to do it for this file, but it's also going to do it for this head rig, which has been imported, the head model, from the head base file here. All right, so this is kind of referencing into this one. Okay, so when you save this file, it also saves the model into a separate file as well. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, and then we'll finish this video up, is I'm going to import my audio. And there's a couple of different settings we want to adjust. So I'm going to start off by coming down to this little running man gear button. This is the preferences, timeline preferences, just here. And you can see the time slider. What we're going to do is change this height value to 4. What this does is it basically makes the timeline higher, like this, and that's going to make our waveform for our audio much easier to see. Okay, the other thing I want to do is pop up to settings, and I want to make sure that I've got my settings set to 24 frames per second. This is the default for Maya. It should be 24 unless somebody's changed it. On a shared computer, keep in mind that this may have been adjusted by someone else, so always check this. So that should be okay, so I'm just going to hit save. I'm then going to import my audio. Now technically you should be able to drag the audio out of your folder directly into the viewport. So to kind of show you what that does, technically you should be able to take your file and drag it directly in, and you'll see it kind of highlights the viewport here, and it gives you this little sort of plus add button. I tend to not like doing that, only because sometimes I find dragging files directly into Maya will make the software crash, and because the audio system in Maya is dodgy to begin with, you don't want to really push it too much. But that might be an option, so you can try it if you like. Keeping in mind we've just saved this file anyway, so we're pretty good to go. The other way of doing it is going File, Import. Okay, that's going to take you to your Scenes folder, and then all you do is go up one folder and then into the Sound folder. So make sure you've copied your audio in there, and then you can select the file and hit Import. And you can see down here in the timeline, it's added in that WAV file. Okay, so we've now got the waveform of the audio, so we can kind of see where the sounds are coming in the timeline. Now this can be a little tricky to see sometimes, so we can actually change the color of this. So if we come up to Windows, Settings Preferences, Color Settings, and that'll pop this panel open. All right, if we come down to Animation just here, and then we come down to Sound, this color here is the color for the waveform. So what you can do basically is just change it to something that's really bright. So, you know, I sort of tend to go like a golden yellow, something like that, so it shows up, and then just press save. And that way you can actually see it a lot more clearly. So from this point, what I'm going to do is save the file. So I'll go File, Save Scene, and just hit Continue, and then Continue again. And basically now our file is set up so we're ready to start animating. So I'm going to leave this video here, and in the next one what we'll do is take a look at some very basic controls, and we'll do a bit of a tour around the rig itself. So we'll see you then.